In the 1970s, I moved to the Atlantic coast in South Florida. Most days I would travel on US Highway number 1 between work and home or wherever else I needed to go. It was, after all, the main street in a lot of towns between Maine and Miami. Just south of town, I'd pass a house that had a huge wooden sign in the front yard that said, "No Sunday business." Now, it wasn't uncommon at the time to see those sentiments on bumper stickers, but this was a humongous sign right out on the highway. And they kept it really nice, so it always looked freshly painted. They were concerned about the commandment that says, "Keep the Sabbath holy." They didn't really understand that technically Sabbath is the seventh day, Saturday, whereas Sunday is the Lord's day, but that's what they really meant. Keep Sunday holy. Anyway, as everybody knows, I'm sure, they fought a losing battle as more and more businesses began opening on Sundays. Now, I realize some of you don't remember this, but there was a time when most businesses were closed on Sunday. It wasn't like today when pretty much all retail stores and malls and restaurants are open on Sunday. Customer service reps staff their phones 24/7, and even FedEx will deliver your packages to you on a Sunday afternoon. I grew up in Pennsylvania, which has a lot of strange and antiquated laws known as the Blue Laws that date back from when the Quakers founded the state. No Sunday business was one of those laws, with very few exceptions. In most of our cities and states, in fact, the original bodies of law were based in the majority belief for that particular area. So whatever group founded that state or that area, whatever their beliefs were, their rules, that's what the state laws were. Now, sometimes when we are nostalgically looking back on the good old days when the churches were all full on Sunday mornings, we forget that in many places there wasn't anything else to do. There was nowhere else to go on Sunday morning except church. Now, of course, Sunday services have to compete with sports and shopping and work and lots of stuff. In Israel, religious law was all of the law. Israel was governed by the law of Moses. So when Jesus healed that woman, he wasn't just breaking a custom. He was very publicly breaking a law right in front of the synagogue. And he called his accusers hypocrites because they were happy to break this law in private where nobody could see, feeding and watering their livestock. But in public, they would call out infractions. Kind of like speeding on the freeway. You only do it when there is no CHP vehicle in sight. And if you get caught, you're in trouble. If you don't get caught, well, you know, some people say it's only illegal if you get caught. That is not true, by the way. It's still illegal. Even today, the laws governing Sabbath are still observed by many Jews. Not only are they observed, but as the world changes and new technologies are introduced, they are continually being updated by a group of rabbis who specialize in the law. So the definition of work gets more and more detailed. Sometimes I'll be in conversation with my friend Izzy, an Orthodox Jew who lives in Jerusalem, and suddenly he'll say, "Gotta go, Sabbath's going to begin in a few minutes." Use of a cell phone or a computer, you see, is work. So our conversation must end before Sabbath begins. Jesus regularly challenged blind adherence to laws. In the 6th chapter of Luke's Gospel, he records other instances of Jesus breaking Sabbath law. When he and his disciples were walking through a field of grain, and some of them were hungry and plucked some grain and ate it, the Pharisees called him on it. And when he healed a man with a withered hand on the Sabbath, the Pharisees called him on it. But Jesus said to the legal experts and the Pharisees, "Here's a question for you. Is it legal on the Sabbath to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy it?" No Sunday business makes sense up to a point. Keeping the Sabbath holy is one thing, it's an important thing. Refusing to allow a physician to heal is another thing. So is preventing someone from getting life-saving medicines. So is making a hungry person stay hungry. Jesus said to the Pharisees, the Sabbath was created for man. Man was not created for the Sabbath. This is why the human one is Lord even over the Sabbath. Rules are rules. I mean, I like rules. I do. They're intended to make life better for everyone so that we can all get along. Sometimes they're inconvenient. I must remind myself occasionally that the rule against jaywalking is not intended to punish me by making me walk all the way to the corner and back down when the place I want to go to is right across the street. It is intended to keep me from getting run over. Most of the 613 laws that make up Torah were intended to help the people of Israel get along together as a community. They were designed to let people know exactly what sort of behavior was expected from everybody at any time. Mostly, they were good laws for those people at that time. Sometimes they got in the way of allowing someone to do good in an unusual situation, like healing on the Sabbath. Mind you, technically, saving someone's life was permitted on the Sabbath. But the healings that Luke tells us Jesus was performing were not life-saving. Theoretically, could have waited till the next day. But as Jesus said, why? Why make this woman stay in pain and suffering one more day when I can take it away from her right now? And the Pharisees responded, rules is rules. Rules are generally good. I do like rules. Most of us are pretty good at following the rules. But sometimes rules need to be broken. When we are so focused on obeying a rule that it keeps us from doing good for another person or another group of people, there's something wrong. We saw that in the story of the Good Samaritan, when two people passed by without helping because they were so focused on obeying a rule that they would rather let someone die on the side of the road than break that rule. Sometimes they're bad rules, or rules that are so petty and detailed that they really don't improve anybody's life. Keeping the Sabbath holy is a good rule. It's an important rule. We all need a day when we can rest from the busyness of our lives. We all need time when we can focus on God. But when the rules about how to do that become so restrictive that we're more worried about obeying rules than honoring the Sabbath, then there's a problem. A friend of mine in Florida was very anti-church. I understood that. But when I asked her why she was, she told me a story about her parents. They had been lifelong members of a particular congregation, leaders in that congregation, known for their devotion to God and to the church, and their dedication to living a Christian life as it was defined by that church. One year, on their wedding anniversary, they danced together in their living room, and a member of the church happened to be going by and saw them, quickly reported what they had seen to the church leaders, and that next Sunday, her parents were excommunicated from the church because dancing was against the rules. Jesus in no way suggested that we should not honor the Sabbath. He never even said that the rules governing Sabbath observance were bad. What he said was they need to be seen through a different lens. If the rules help you to honor God, that's good. That's what they're intended for. If the rule keeps one from doing good in a particular situation, it needs to be disregarded in that particular situation. If following the rule means somebody might die, the rule needs to be disregarded in order to save that life. Doing good is always holy work. In this way, the intent of Sabbath is observed, because doing good is always a blessing in God's eyes, even if doing good means breaking a rule. The intent of the Sabbath is for us to take time to be holy. That means praying to God and listening for God and being a blessing to others, no matter what day it is. For whatever good we do in God's name is a blessing and holy.